5 movies that endured wildly troubled productions. Number 1, Hell's Angels, 1930. Like all of the best and most troubled Hollywood productions, you can watch the movie and then you can watch the movie about the movie. In this case, Martin Scorsese's The Aviator, which spends a chunk of its runtime on the making of Hell's Angels. With seemingly limitless resources, no filmmaking experience, and no one to tell him no, producer Howard Hughes forced 2 directors out before taking over the job himself. Then spent a year and a half crafting a silent film before deciding that sound would be the way to go, at which point actors had to be replaced. Hughes' lax eye toward safety also led to the deaths of 3 pilots and a mechanic, and left Hughes with a skull fracture that's sometimes seen as contributing to his later eccentricities and facial reconstructive surgery. All told, the film took about 3 years to produce. Number 2, The Wizard of Oz, 1939. The troubles on the set of The Wizard of Oz were more damaging for some than others. The verbal, sexual, and physical abuse suffered by Judy Garland then and throughout the early days of her career remains horrific. Although Victor Fleming is credited as the movie's sole director, he was actually the 4th of 5 who worked on the film at various points, with at least that many versions of the script in play at any given point. There were several major casting changeovers as well, the most significant involving the original Tin Man, Buddy Ebsen, who was hospitalized in critical condition after inhaling the aluminum dust used in his makeup. The studio changed the makeup when Jack Haley replaced him. Number 3, The Magnificent Ambersons, 1942. Orson Welles' first film, Citizen Kane, was a relatively smooth, if not entirely without drama, production. But that movie's legendarily troubled release set the stage for a lifetime of struggles for Welles. After getting carte blanche on Kane, Welles lost final cut approval on Ambersons with catastrophic results. Producer RKO waited until Welles left town to do some work on a documentary, and then had the film whittled down by 40 minutes. And the ending reshot to make it more upbeat, in a way that jars with the rest of the movie. The changes were all made in the interest of making something more marketable. But the film still tanked at the box office. It's a classic even still, but a compromised one. The director's missing footage remains a holy grail among classic film enthusiasts. Number 4, Stromboli, 1950. Stromboli might not have been a troubled production for its star and director. They were having a great time, but it quickly became a problem for everyone else involved, and their spouses. The more prosaic problem involved editing. Roberto Rossellini's Italian-American co-production was mangled by U.S. distributors, leading to a string of lawsuits around the question of what the English-language version of the film would look like, and who would get to decide. But the film's real issues involved the affair between married director Rossellini and also married star Ingrid Bergman. Once Bergman became pregnant, Isabella Rossellini being the result, the romance became impossible to hide. Pearl-clutching U.S. audiences skipped Stromboli, and the fallout wasn't limited to the film itself. Producer Walter Wanger was banking on his much-delayed Joan of Arc adaptation, starring Bergman, to save his company and finances, which didn't happen. At least in part because it came out just a few months after the scandal broke. As for Stromboli itself, it's a rather impressive and beautiful feat of early European neorealism. But the movie will never be able to compete with its own scandalous reputation. Number 5, Cleopatra, 1963. Cleopatra was to be producer Walter Wanger's big comeback, and he bet everything on the star power of Elizabeth Taylor, and then Liz had an on-set affair with co-star Richard Burton. The relationship was as often seen as a dalliance among glamorous celebrities, though the Vatican publicly denounced Taylor. So not everyone was so blasé. But if it couldn't tank the movie became about the affair. Conversations about the film were always centered on Liz and Dick. That wasn't all, though. The movie went through 2.5 years of production. 2 directors, multiple scripts, significant cast swaps, 2 changes of management at 20th Century Fox, a near-fatal bout of pneumonia suffered by Taylor, and huge cost overruns when it was decided that the original sets in England were unsuitable. Overall, the movie cost roughly $44 million, which was about $30 million more than the previous all-time most expensive movie, Ben-Hur.